Okay, and we are back in Revelation. And maybe if I can quickly just put that screen up, so just to get our minds in the right frame again. Okay, there's that little screen. Let's see. Good, so hopefully you all know a little bit what's going on here. This is, ag nee, wat se ding kom nou hier op? Met hierdie ding aangegaan. Sorry, I don't know how to stop it. Okay, so we are looking at Revelation, and we are back in Revelation 13, and we're going to continue there. We'll probably finish tonight. And we looked at the first beast out of the sea. The second one is the false prophet out of the earth, the second beast. And let's read. So I'm going to start again, and I know we read this last time, but I'm going to read it again. I just want to talk a little bit on the scriptures itself. We spoke, if I'm correct, the last time we spoke about what the one world religion will look like, and I just gave a few ideas, and we can probably spend so much time on that. And I actually started by preparing for tonight, looking at the ecumenism and interfaith movement, that all, I think, is part of bringing not only different church groups, but maybe more than that, broader than that, bring faiths together, the interfaith movement, and how that also plays a role kind of in a way to bring this one world religion. But I eventually decided not to go into, because there's just too much info on that, and I'd rather come back to the text itself. So I decided to come back rather to the text. So let's read Revelation 13 and verse 13. I'll start there. Says, it performs great, this is now the false prophet, performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Also, it causes both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehand, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. Then verse 18, this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So, yeah, we all have learned about the number 666 before. We all have heard many stories about that. So, before I continue, let me just maybe quickly say something, and I think we did say this 2 Bible studies before the last one we did, is the false prophet. We see from the text from verse 13 and 14 that he's able to do or to perform great signs, and he makes fire come down from heaven. And as we said, there may be a few different interpretations on that. Maybe it's false Pentecost, when fire, the Holy Spirit was poured out and tongues of fire sat on the apostles. I don't know. Maybe it's similar to Elijah's miracle, where he prayed to God and God made fire came down on the altar. Maybe it's that kind of thing. And also, and I think we went to Malachi as well, where scripture, where we read about this. Let me quickly scroll back, see if I can remember that scripture. Malachi 4 verse 5, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the great and awesome day of the Lord. That's the promise. And maybe the devil wants to fool people in thinking that Malachi 4 verse 5, this is the fulfillment of it, and that is why he is making fire fall down from heaven. I don't know. But we know from scripture, and I think there's more scripture that we can quote also, where it indicates that the devil, Satan, can perform miracles. I would say in brackets, may probably just deceptive, fake miracles. He cannot really do supernatural things like God or Jesus did. And he will use that to deceive people. I saw Aubrey's hand going up, so I'm going to give you quickly a chance to say or come in here, Aubrey.
Yeah, thanks, Rudy. Just in regards to where those marks are going to be, it's the same marks where God the Father is going to put on us. So it looks like Satan is actually challenging God, i.e., that he's putting the marks in on the wrist or on the forehead.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but I think, as you said,
All right, sorry.
think about that. I know there's a place where it talks about the 144 that are sealed with, and also has got the mark of
in the Old Testament, on your forehead.
Yeah, no, we'll look at that.
That's Revelation 14. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. Okay, so I see there was a latecomer here. Now, who was that? Oh, Smoolians, die laatkommers. Goeienaand, Iver. Okay, let's continue. So I think it's gonna. I think we'll be ignorant in thinking that every time there's a miracle or a sign that looks apparently like a miracle, that or an event or something that happens, we assign that to God. When we know that, and I'm thinking about one sign that really attracts people around the world, and that's called stigmata. Stigmata is where there would be a cross where Jesus hangs on the cross, and suddenly blood runs from his eyes, or stigmata can also be when someone has the wounds of Jesus in his own hand, blood coming in his hands, or gold dust on people's hands and things like that. I think it would be wrong to assume or to assign all those signs always and say this is God. No, I don't think that's true. We should be careful, because there is a lot of false signs and wonders, as we've already saw. Paul talked about that. Jesus said in Matthew 24, they will do even do these things to mislead even the elect. So we need to understand that the devil can perform miracles, probably fake miracles, probably stage it. We don't know. And as you know, many magicians today do. It's not real supernatural things they do. It's just sleight of hand. So the people that are deceived during this time, they will be told to make an image and of the beast, and to worship that image. Now, although this image it says here, let me quickly read that again. It says the beast was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And although we spoke about that, it apparently refers to what this is just my interpretation. Doesn't mean I'm 100% correct on it, but this is what I think. It refers to the decline of the historic Roman Empire, and then suddenly the revival of that. It seemed to be dead, but it became alive. But this was also indicated by the expression "yet lived." It's revival. And the man who serves as the head of that empire is the symbol of this miraculous restoration. So suddenly the Roman Empire is revived, and he's the head of that empire. And I think that's kind of what I understand there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's to me, that's what it makes sense. So the image of the beast.
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. So the image of the beast also then becomes the center of false worship, becomes the center of the false worship of the beast, of the world ruler, the Antichrist. And this image is mentioned more than, we'll see that in chapter 14, verse 9, verse 11, chapter 15, verse 2, chapter 16, verse 2, chapter 19, verse 20, chapter 20, verse 4. We'll see it again mentioned, and we'll get some more detail on that. So it's going to be the center of the false worship and the focal point of this final apostasy, if you want to say it. Some people call it the apostate church. The apostate church, the church of the devil, or whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be not the church of Jesus Christ, and the worship is not Jesus. It's the Antichrist and this idol worship. Now, I'm trying to think, just think for a moment how vulnerable people will be at this stage. They've experienced disaster after disaster, people dying. How many people died? Cosmic events that took place, demons running all over the place, as we saw in previous chapters, people crying out for mercy and they cannot die. They will be possessed in a way they cannot even kill themselves. Wars all over the place and the sky literally falling. So Chicken Little was right. The sky is falling. It's going to fall. Don't know if you saw that story. Anyway, they will be desperate. And I think they will also be vulnerable and ready to believe anything and accept anything except the true God. Why? Because they've rejected the gospel. They've rejected the only true God and the truth. And also, as you saw in 2 Thessalonians, God will also then, not 2 Thessalonians, I think Timothy, that God will also give them over to a strong delusion because they have rejected the truth. And here comes a false prophet. He does great signs, and the world will be convinced. And they will, and that the only hope they have during this time will be the beast. So you can think how easy it will be, or vulnerable people will be during this time, and this deception will also be strong. And that's how, and that's just the point. That's how Satan operates. That's how the devil operates. He confuses people by covering truth with lies. That's what he does. Even if he takes a truth and he bends it a little bit, if he can throw you off the tracks with it, that's how he works. If we look at the full armor of God, Ephesians 6, and we've done a whole series on that when we started 2017. The full armor of God. The armor is about protecting us from lies, from the deception, from the deceit, and it's the word of God, the shield of the Spirit. The belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the helmet of salvation, all those things to protect us, to help us stand strong against the lies of the devil. And we need to understand that is his strategy. That is how Satan always operated from the beginning, and it will be until the end. He confuses people, covering up the truth. He's a father of lies. Second Corinthians. I've got the scripture. Let me share that. Last day, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14 says, "And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no surprise if his servants also disguises them as servants of righteousness. The end will be correspond to their deeds." So that's the sad thing. That's how he operates. That's how he deceives the world with lying doctrines. Paul talks about the doctrines of demons, and he seduces them through hypocritical teachers, religious false teachers, leaders, prophets. And no wonder the Bible warns us from the start to the end. And I think that's the greatest war that has ever been fought, not from one country to another country. The greatest, and that's the spiritual war that I believe the Bible talks about, is the war against between truth and error, between God's truth and lies. And the Bible warns us from the beginning to the end. And as we get closer to the end, the deception will escalate. It will finally come to this ultimate deceiver, the false prophet, the ultimate human hypocrite, teaching demonic doctrines, teaching the doctrines of devils, if you want to, as Paul says, and being energized by seducing spirits. So as the Antichrist will focus then all his efforts on building this world empire on a military and political basis, at the same time, together with this, the false prophet will be building the one world religion. So we've got both legs going on. The Antichrist building his political power in this world, one world government, if you want to, globalism, or what do you want to call it. And then next to it, the false prophet working together, they will coexist. And we find this in chapter 17. We will get there when you read about the harlot, referring to the false apostate church or the false apostate world religion, whatever it will be called. I don't know, maybe the New Age movement, or maybe, I don't know what it will be called, but the false church, the false bride, the harlot, the false bride that will ride on the back of the beast. You can go and read it, chapter 17, and we'll get back to that as well when we get there. So, yes, so let me quickly go back to the text, Revelation 13, verse 15. Revelation 13, verse 15. Says, and it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Okay, so note, these are just small details that I want to point out. To note that the image of the beast is not given life. It doesn't say that he is giving life to the beast. It's not this horror movie that what the Greek mythology movies where this thing comes to life. That's not that. The Greek words zoe and bios. Zoe, life; bios, biology, where life organism comes from. So the word is, those two words are not used. The word that John uses here is the word for spirit, pneuma, where we get pneumatic or pneuma. Yeah. Well, you get pneumonia. It probably comes from pneuma, where you have breath, and that's how it's been translated, allowed to give breath. So yes, you forget the spirit. I think in the biblical context, this is probably a spirit that speaks through this beast, as if it looks and sound like it is alive. But I don't think it's going to be a live beast. I think it's probably going to image that the spirit will speak through. Yes, Lizelle?
My commentary says that ventriloquism was quite common those days. Ventriloquism
yes, was common.
Yes.
Yeah, I read somewhere where they would make images and make it hollow in the inside, and a prophet would go stand inside and then speak as if the beast is speaking. There's some kind of, I read something about that. Maybe it's that kind of. I don't know. But I think this will be a spirit, probably a evil spirit that speaks through the beast. Maybe the devil himself. I don't know. We can only guess. But the text doesn't say the beast actually came alive. I think that's just a small detail that I saw. And obviously Satan cannot give life. And more than that, not life to just a dead image. That would be a bit funny. It may seem like he's doing that, but again, he deceives people, and it may appear just that way. So everyone will believe and worship this image, and those who don't will be slain. Many years ago, I actually read someone who made a comment on this specific point. He said, "Your TV is the image." And he speaks through the TV. I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe let me ask you, what do you think is the image? What do you think? Is it gonna be a statue, and or is it gonna be the TV? I don't know. What do you think? John, you can talk.
I am going to throw a little modern cat among the pigeons as to what I believe it's going to be.
Good.
I believe it's going to be a holographic image.
Wow, that's good.
Because holographics are so brilliant these days that they can make a person appear in a meeting sitting in a chair that is not there at all. And you
Yeah.
cannot distinguish between the hologram and the real thing. So I think that could be a big.
No, that's a definitely, that's a possibility. With technology today, anything is possible. Greg?
Yeah, sort of on the animatronic
Sorry, I lost
robot.
you. Sorry, I lost you for a second. Just repeat what you said now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like an animatronic cyborg humanoid type of thing where it will have living flesh and then it'll be possessed by a demon.
It can be an AI.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't know. It can be. It can be. We just speculate.
Watch too much sci-fi.
As long we can speculate, but at the point is that people will be so amazed, obviously, with this beast, and they will worship it. They will worship it. Must be something that will. Okay, Cynthia says it's also a hologram. Yeah, it might be. Might be the Antichrist who cannot reach everyone at the same time, and then this hologram appears in everyone's. Well, maybe in the temple, I think, and all over the place, and he talks to people. I don't know. Okay, we can just speculate. One day we will know. Not that we will be there. We'll just know from heaven. Okay, so obviously, I don't think when the text says that when it says that, ek net sien wat se vers is dit. Everyone, and he will deceive those who dwell on the earth, telling them, and they will worship him. I don't think that includes every single person when the text says that. I think obviously there are two groups that are clearly from what we've studied before that will be protected in a sense. It is those that are the remnant of Israel, the lady that flees to the mountain, where Jesus said, if you see the desolation of standing in the temple, proclaiming himself to be God, you must flee to the mountain. Those who are in Judah must flee, and God will protect them. So obviously that group is not going to fall. So it's not every single person. And then I do also believe if you take everything, the whole bigger picture, we know that there will be Gentile nations that will be not anti-Semitical. They will actually be for Israel. They will be the sheep nations, and we spoke about those things. And I think there will be a lot of those believers that will enter into the millennium kingdom and will not be slain or killed, but they didn't accept the mark of the beast. So some of them will survive, but a lot of them will obviously, many people will be slain. So yeah, so I think there will be those two groups, maybe others that survive. I don't know. So verse 16 then says, let me just quickly put it on there. Okay, sorry, Greg, your hand is up. You can talk.
Yeah, Rudy, you were just saying after the abomination of desolation, those that need to flee from Judah into the hills.
Yeah.
Does it say something that they mustn't look back? But then when they get to the hills, if they look back, is it going to be just the same as when they're running away? They look back, or will they just not look back at all?
No, it doesn't say any about that. I think Matthew 24, it's verse 15, 16. It says, so when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop go down to take what is in his, on the house, not go down, take what is in his house. And let let the one who's in the field not turn back to take his cloak. Yeah, you're probably referring to that. There's no time. There's no time. And also the women that are pregnant, and for those who are nursing infants in the days, pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on a Sabbath. So I think that's probably what you're referring to. There's no time for them.
So
it's like if you see that, pack up your things and move. Like there's no time to get things in order. There's no way. You need to get out there. So that's the message. And I think this obviously refers to what we looked at in Revelation 12 when he spoke about the woman that gave birth to a child, and then the child was taken to heaven and she fled to the mountains. I think that's the same event, but that woman refers to Israel that will flee to the mountains, what Jesus just said to the year in Matthew 24. Yeah. Let me quickly get my scripture again, Lisa. Let's go back to verse 16. Verse 16 then says, obviously, so what I'm saying is we don't know exactly what the image will be, but it's not going to be a living life. And only God can give life, but it's going to be deception, convincing, and people will worship this image, and those who don't will be slain. So verse 16 then says, also it causes all both. It causes, referring to the false prophet, the beast. It will cause all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand and the forehead. Okay, so that none of them can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast and the number of his name. We'll talk about that now. So then here in chapter, just interesting, here in chapter 13, you actually have not two choices. You've got one of two choices, one of two options. If you are here, you either take the mark of the beast, or you don't. If you don't take it, you're going to be killed. Okay, you're going to be slain. Probably, the probability of that's very high.
Can you be saved at that point still?
I think you can, but if you take the mark of the beast, it's gone.
Obviously.
It's over. And then in chapter 16, if you have the mark of the beast, and we'll read that, God will retaliate against you. And then you can choose. Do you want to die by the hand of the Antichrist, the beast, or you want to die by the hand of God? There's no neutral position in that. And I think if you read chapter 16, you'll find that. So my question then is, what is this mark? Now, this is probably the most spoken of, most what's die regte woord? Not controversial, many views. There's so many interpretations and views. What is the mark of the beast? So let me ask this to you. What do you think is the mark of the beast? Let's see what you guys say. What is the mark of the beast? Is it coronavirus?
I think it's the COVID vaccination. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No.
I'm drinking. Okay.
I don't know. I think some things have become a little bit like a concern. Like they developed some other chip that you can put on your in your wrist, and then it's like a tap card. So then you just tap with your wrist, and
device.
Yeah. So that was like my first like, whoa, wait. And then I recently heard
Huawei. Who said Huawei?
No.
Chinese are spying on us. That's what it is.
And then the other thing was someone wanted to develop a microchip that goes in the back of like a extra CPU power in your brain, so that you can do mathematical calculations. So they connect it to your brain. So that was also like, no, I don't think I would put that on my head.
Well, if it's strong enough to mine some bitcoins, I'll do that. No, okay. Cynthia says, I think it will be like a tattoo. Everyone will be able to see it. Okay, Cynthia, my view is closer to yours. So let's hear what Greg says. Or who was first? Yeah. Greg and then Aubrey.
So just like they said it was going to be a chip as well. Later times in my walk, I thought, okay, it's going to be the chip where it will be planted in your wrist and then get used like a credit card but in the tap form and that. But in the beginning, I've always thought that it was going to be, like Alan said, a tattoo of the actual number 666.
Yeah.
Either a tattoo or branded like a cow that's been burnt into your skin.
Okay. Okay. John? Of Aubrey. Sorry, Aubrey, you were first.
Well, I think the closest that we've got, is to put a chip in their hand so that you can't trade anything other than to show the chip in your hand.
Okay.
These other marks are temporary type thing, but in your body itself, you won't be able to take it out.
Okay. Okay.
They're doing this for dogs now and prize
True.
animals and stuff.
Yeah, you that's many years already that they put a chip in.
Yes, yeah.
If the dog is lost, you can actually track it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Someone said to me, when was it? Today, yesterday, I can't remember, when we talked about something in the same line. He was saying, yeah, the vaccination. Oh, Dirk, I think I don't know if it was you, that the vaccination, they can track us now. It's no, man, they can track us for many years already. No, it wasn't Dirk.
Definitely not me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't you. Google has been tracking us for a long time. We're not. They know exactly where we are. If you've got a cell phone, Google knows where you are. John.
Something very interesting. I read about it or listened to it last night that has been developed. It's called the Oral Ring. Now, this isn't the mark of the beast, but it's definitely a precursor. It's a ring that you wear on your finger, and this ring measures your blood pressure, your body temperature, your mood, your levels of whatever. And it's being pushed under the auspices of being able to predict that you are going to get an illness. For example, you are going to get COVID because it can see certain changes in your body. So before you actually get COVID or cancer or whatever, this will alert whoever, who will alert you to the fact that you need to get to a hospital. Apparently, this is not science fiction. It's actually working as we speak. So it is definitely coming, but
there it is.
The problem, that's the very thing. But now, that's obviously cannot be implanted in your forehead or implanted in your hand. So I believe that this is going to be a form of a chip that has no intelligence in itself, but it relays information to a central computer, central database, which I understand exists in Belgium already, I think it is, and a supercomputer that actually uses artificial intelligence to process all these things. And the one scary thing that the guy said last night that I was listening to is it can determine your mood. So if you are angry, you had a real heavy day with your wife, for example, and you are now angry, it picks up the fact that you're angry. But it also picks up the fact that yesterday you posted on Facebook that you've now had it with this government. And it picks up another little something or other. And this algorithm will determine that you are actually a threat to the government.
Yeah.
And they will arrive at your doorstep and arrest you, sort of thing. Now, that to me makes a lot more sense if you look at how they're going to track. Because remember, God knows all and he sees all. The devil can't know all and he can't see all. Yeah. But if he has a huge computer system with fancy algorithms, he will be able to track and trace us. So that's sort of where I'm leaning towards by what I'm reading.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. I think you already have...
Somebody's listening to sci-fi.
Watching movies. But these things are reality.
Yeah, there was a movie like that.
Yeah. These things are reality in a sense. I would say, yes, it might be a precursor because obviously for me, if I look at the text, the mark of the beast will be that it will mark those who are worshipping the beasts. How do we know, or how will the policing know, or whoever is going to be part of this monitoring who is now rebellious and not accepting the mark? How will they know that? There must be a definite mark of the beast so that they will know, okay, this guy's got the mark, this guy's got the mark, this guy doesn't have the mark. So in that sense, they want to have control. And I think that's probably the thing is that they want control and to know exactly who's not following the rules that they obviously set. So yeah, no, it's interesting. First time I heard about the ring. Only thing is you can take it off, so the ring is probably not that, but it's, I don't know, it might be some technological thing. I don't know, but we'll talk around a little bit more on this. I'll give you a few things that I think from the text, but we can basically come to a conclusion on, and then we can speculate further. So just some interesting facts in the ancient Rome. Caesar also had a mark let's call it a token of your loyalty to him. And what you simply had to do is you take a pinch of salt and throw it on the altar. That's your token of your loyalty to him. And then obviously Christians refused to do that and they were killed because of that. And also soldiers were branded, like, branding animals. They had marks, identifying marks. A slave had a mark, and if he ran away from his owner, he would get the mark on his forehead that says fugitivus or fugitivus. That the Greek word for you, the fugitive, and everyone will know this was a slave that ran away. So they were different. The branding or marking is not a new thing. And I think John probably had that in mind when he wrote about the Antichrist will also have this mark or a token of loyalty to him. And this mark will be on the forehead or on the right hand, and it will identify, that mark will signify that you are a worshipper of the beast. Now, I think there's actually cults or religions that do that. If you have worship a different, I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read it, where you worship this, you also have a tattoo. You are tattooed a specific symbol or a mark, and everyone will identify you as part of that cult. So probably something in that line, maybe a tattoo, maybe technologically, I don't know. But I think that's the idea, to brand the worshippers of the beast, to brand them, and the mark is the number 666. So, well, maybe not the tattoo itself, but it's the name of the beast. We'll look at that now. Interestingly, Paul, let's see. Paul says Galatians 6 verse 17. Let's go there. Let's read it. Galatians 6 verse 17. Let me quickly pull that up. 6 verse 17. Listen to what Paul says here. Interesting. I'll share that on the screen. Lost my text. There it is. He says, from now on, let no one cause me trouble, for I bear on my body the marks of Jesus. What was the marks of Jesus? Probably persecution. Probably how many times he was hit, lashed, many things. So Paul says, I bear on my body the marks of Jesus. Interesting. Just an interesting text that I picked up. And also the mark of a slave was not uncommon. Antichrist worshippers then will also be kind of branded in that way. That's why I'm steering rather to that idea. That's just me. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a chip. I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking it must be something that will be visible, something that they can clearly see this guy is. Or maybe they've got they're screening us. Maybe they are preparing us with this COVID thing with the thermometer to screen us everywhere we go. If you go into the shop, you are screened. So we're used to it, and then they screen. Where's your arm? Screen you. I don't know. So the false prophet will then cause everyone to be given this mark so that the Antichrist worshippers will be identified. And if you don't have this mark, obviously you cannot buy, you cannot sell anything. Maybe it's the vaccination cards. You won't be able to go into the shop if you're not vaccinated. I don't know. So you will be cut off from basic daily needs, and you can die because of starvation, whatever the case may be. The mark can be a barcode. I remember years ago when I was young, when they talked about the mark of the beast, they had this barcode with, they say the end, the middle, and the first end and middle has 2 lines that is 666. But listen, I actually, just to show you, I did some research and I actually found the mark of the beast. Can I all show you? Who wants to know the mark of the beast? I found it. Can I show you? John, your hand is up. You want to say something there?
No, sorry, I just realized my hand's up. I'm quickly taking it down.
It must be tied by now. But I found the mark of the beast. In actual fact, a few years ago, people actually said this is the mark of the beast. There was a story running around on this, but I don't think this thing died very quickly. But let me show you. I found the mark of the beast. Here it is. Everyone, there's the mark of the beast. I don't know if any one of you saw this before. Anyone? You know why this is?
Yeah, I'll write up on that whole thing.
Sorry?
I say there's a whole write-up on that thing. There's a long story on that.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain. If you drink this drink, you have the mark of the beast. I'm just joking. No. Okay, let me quickly explain. This M, the M they have. Let me see if I can pull up my my little red light, spotlight. Ah, there you can see the spotlight. So if you look at this image, it's got the M, obviously for monster, okay? And this, if you take these letters from the alphabet in Hebrew, it's the Vav. We call it the Vav. And the Vav is the 6th letter in the Hebrew alphabet. So some people say this is 666. The monster in it, unleash the beast. I think it's very creative. It's very creative, but I don't think it's the mark of the beast. Just I thought I'd share that with you. Okay, so it's not the mark of the beast. Interestingly, I actually read that in Jerusalem. Where did I read this? Let me quickly see where I read this. In Jerusalem, the taxis that were driving in Jerusalem all had the first numbers of the taxi was 666 in Jerusalem, okay? And for years they were driving through Jerusalem streets with the number 666 on the front of the number plate. And people used to say, if you work for the Jerusalem taxi company, you have taken the mark of the beast. Or if you ride in one of those taxis, you've taken the mark of the beast. So that's true. Maybe you can fact check me, but I actually read this somewhere and I thought it was very, very interesting. Okay, but today I don't think there's that number anymore on the number plates. I don't know. Someone can maybe check that. So obviously we can only guess. We don't know if it's a barcode. We don't know if it's a tattoo. We don't know if we're coming to a cashless society. We don't need cards anymore. You just tap your arm on the machine and you buy, or your head. Lizelle is making me laugh. You tap your head on the machine and then you pay. So people will worship the beast not just because of religious deception, not because just because of life and death, but they will make the choice because not only because they admire the beast and they want to worship him, and because they are deceived by the false prophet or they fear death. I think they will just simply have no other choice. That's a lot of people will just simply don't have, because if they don't, they will die. So verse 18 says that this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man and his number is 666. So many people have tried to calculate the number. They will take the Hebrew alphabet, they'll take the Greek alphabet, they've tried to get the names and use the alphabet numbers that we've tried with Monster. And they'll come to, I said to Lizelle, what name did I use? That I said, if you take one name and you multiply it and divide it, and you add, you'll come to 666. You'll get there. In actual fact, if you take the telephone book, do we get the telephone books today? I don't know if you still get them, but if you get them, you can probably get a lot of names that will add up to number 666. And Hitler also adds up to 6. I think they take 101 is A, 102 is B, 103 is C, 104 is D, and then they take the name Hitler, and somehow they come to 666. I'm not sure how. But for many, obviously, the text itself doesn't say that. So the text says, this number is the number of a man. That's verse 18. It's the number of a man. Okay. Now we know what does it mean? The perfect number. We all know the perfect number is God's number. It's number 7, and man's number is number 6. And man, obviously, many reasons. Man was also made on the 6th day, and man always falls short from 7, if you want to say it that way. Always falls short. Even the best he does, 6 represents imperfection. And obviously, the Antichrist, his number, the number of a man, meaning he will not be perfect. He will not be as God. And many have tried to figure the identity of the Antichrist, and no, it's not Nero. It's not Kaiser Nero, as some say. I think preterists do that and try to do all these things, but I think the wisdom of counting the name is not to be applied today. And I'll say why. Because for us, we are jumping the gun if we do that. Instead, it is applied to those who have wisdom, and I would say believers, for those believers in that time, during that time, the tribulation time. Let me say this. If you go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Paul teaches that during the current church age, and we did this, we spoke about this, during this time, the Antichrist is being restrained. If you can remember that, verse 6, and he will not be revealed until the restrainer is removed. So I think we're jumping the gun to try and figure out who's the Antichrist because he is not revealed yet. The Holy Spirit's selection of the word revealed indicates to us that the identity of the Antichrist will only be concealed until this time of revelation and after the rapture, after the church has been taken away in the tribulation period, in the middle of the tribulation. Only then, I believe, the Antichrist will come with the first horse. The horse, then he will be revealed, but they will truly see him, for he is in the middle of the tribulation. So I don't think it's possible before this time to identify him while he's restrained. And Revelation makes it clear that when the time comes, that identity will become clearer to those who have understanding, to those who have wisdom. The text says, this calls for wisdom, let the one who has understanding. Not everyone's going to know this, but those who have understanding will be able to know and to figure that out and see this is the mark of the beast. And as noted above, Revelation makes it clear that every believer during the tribulation will know that if you receive the mark of the beast, they will know that those people who receive the mark of the beast is like the last choice they ever will have. It's a rejection of Christ. It's a rejection of the truth. And this will be universally understood, I think, by Christians in that time. And none of this, the suggestions of the past or any before the tribulation have merit. Now, Revelation 13, verse 17 and 18 also clearly says, it says the number is 666, and this will be the mark of the beast on the forehand, on the right hand, on the forehead. And no one in history, if you go through history, has ever proposed something like this, to be taken a mark on the right hand of the forehead. So there's no, it's not Nero, it's not Hitler, it's not some. Actually, some believe it was man, wat was die Reformation? Dat ek sy naam vergeet. Yeah, the one that caused the Reformation. Luther. Some actually believe it was Martin Luther. Anyway, so And I think no one in history has ever proposed such a thing, like we see in tribulation. And so I think we can only guess, but we're wrong. It's not the Pope. We don't know if it's
So it
the
doesn't
Pope is
affect
rather the
us.
false, and it doesn't affect us. Doesn't affect the church. So the better part of wisdom is to be content that the identification is not yet available, but will be in the future. And the person to whom the 666 applies must have been future to John's time, because John clearly meant the number to be recognized to someone. And it was not discernible to his generation, to those immediately following him. And it was not the generation to whom it will be discernible. Ja, nou het ek my sin verloor daar. Generation to whom it will be discernible must have lain and still lies in the future. So past generations obviously has provided many illustrations of this future person, but also past candidates have proven inadequate as fulfillment. So there's no one in the past that fills that position, and we clearly know this is future. Okay, I don't know if there's any questions. I'll quickly say what I think the text, I'll just summarize what the text itself does say and what we can say about the beast and the mark of the beast. But if there's any comments so far, if you have something, you're more than welcome to say. Yeah, Lisa say, I think like an ID for the new regime. Yeah, maybe that. Cynthia, your hand is up. You can talk.
So, Rudy, you kind of explained the one part of what I was going to say about the number 6. Is just the reason that I understood it was 3 6s.
Yeah.
Is that God is a triune God,
and
the beast is impersonating God or trying to impersonate God, and that's why. So the number 666 is more of a symbolic representation of the beast.
Yeah, no, it can be. I don't have an issue with that. I know it's the mark of the beast, which is the Antichrist, and not the. It doesn't say it's the mark of the false prophet or the mark of the dragon, but I don't have an issue with if it represents God who's triune 777, if you want to use 777. But that's also a little bit of our own interpretations, because the text doesn't say that. But I don't have a problem with that. I think that's. For us, number 6 is clearly the mark of a man, meaning imperfection and not God. And yes, 666 can be the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. It can be that. Yeah, so I don't have a problem with that. And whose hand was up as well? I think, Aubrey, you also wanted to say something. You still want to?
Yeah, thank you. This mark that the Lord has given the Jews was to do with prayer boxes, really, that they had on their arm or on their forehead, which were called, I think the pronunciation is Teflon.
Yeah.
And I think that's the opposition that Satan wants to do in regards to be a counterfeit.
Yeah, well, I never thought of that, Aubrey, because that is kind of a mark of the Jews, for they are Jewish worshippers. They are worshippers.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that. It sounds right to me. So yeah, it might be the same idea with the Antichrist to say.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Mark. Yeah.
I was also wondering about that.
And the thing is, for us, sorry, Lizzo.
No, you can talk, Aubrey.
I think that the best thing for us as Christians is to concentrate on the mark that the Lord has given us, and not to overemphasize the satanic mark, because as you rightly said, we as Christians are not going to take that mark, and then unless of course we are not saved.
Truly saved, yeah.
No.
And
that mark the Lord is giving us is so important.
Yeah. No, that's a good observation. Thanks, Aubrey.
Lizelle,
what did
you
you?
about that, but the Jews had it on their left hand and it's on the right hand.
Okay, Lizelle says that I don't know, but Lizelle says the comments she has says it was on the left hand.
Deuteronomy 6.
Deuteronomy 6. Okay, we'll go and check that up. Maybe someone can check that up for us.
Well,
Okay.
it's 6 verses 6 to 8, Rudy.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Let me just. I'm going to summarize. Maybe I must put it on the screen. So let me copy this and put it on the screen. Let's summarize in a sense what the text does say. And I think this we can kind of say, okay, this is what the text say. We can agree on this. The rest is just speculation. The rest is different interpretations. But I think this kind of summarizes for me. Let me put a whiteboard. Okay, so yeah, okay, it doesn't have the bullets, but I'll just put it like that. Hopefully everyone can see that. So the mark of the beast, it will be. That's, and then I've got bullets, but the bullets didn't copy. But the mark of the beast, number one, it will be the Antichrist's mark identifying with his person. So if you have the mark on your right hand forehead, you say, I am a worshipper of the Antichrist, the beast. So that will be an identification kind of way. If it's a tattoo, a barcode, a chip, or whatever it might be, but it must be definitely something that will identify you with the Antichrist. And the actual number 666, I don't know what I wanted to say there. The actual number, it will be an actual number and not a representation of, if I can say it that way. So the mark of the beasts, it says from the text, it's the number 666. So I don't think we should go and try to figure out it's the monster drink. Okay, they're going to spread the monster or the vaccine because it's got 3 6s in its DNA form. No, that kind of thing. I don't think it's a representation of it. I think it's the actual number that will be presented with the mark of the beast. The mark, I would say it's a visible mark. Don't know if it's a chip, if it will be visible, but obviously I think it will be visible to the. Okay, maybe this is my interpretation, not clearly from the text, but I think it must be visible to the naked eye so that people can see who is. As in the old days, they had the marks of a slave and the marks of a soldier and the marks of a cult or whatever. They know that you're from that group. And I think, okay, I actually said it. I think it's on you and not in you. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So it must be recognized, not be questioned. Okay, and it also, I think, from the text we can say that it's voluntary because those people who didn't take it, they were not forced. They didn't flee. It's voluntary and not involuntary, and not given through deception. People will know what they're doing, and it's not going to happen before the rapture. It's only going to be after, in the tribulation. It's going to be in the second part of the tribulation, and as Revelation 13 is part of the second half. And you need the mark to buy and sell. I think that's clear from the text. And universally, it will be universally received by non-Christians and rejected by true believers. Let me not use Christian because it can be a general term. Maybe just say it will not be accepted by believers, true believers. It will be rejected by them. And if you take it, then obviously that will be, I would say, why would you take a mark that where you commit your loyalty to the beast? Why would you do that if you're a believer? Why would you pinch salt on the altar for Caesar to show your loyalty to him? If you were a true Christian, you would never do that. So I think that will be the case. It will show, the mark of the beast will show your worship and allegiance to the Antichrist, and it will be promoted by the false prophet. And the destiny of all that receive the mark is, according to chapter 16, I think, it's chapter 16. It's eternal punishment in the lake of fire. It's also mentioned, I think, in chapter 21, if I'm correct. I have to just check that up. Okay, so I just put it in a summary. Maybe one or two of these points are a little bit more my interpretation, but I think it kind of, that's how I understand it. And I think the text also explains a lot of these things. Anything else? Any question? Any ideas? Maybe I missed something. If you have something interesting to share, please do. Good. So, by the way, don't buy that Monster drink. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's never healthy to drink those stuff. Okay. No, nothing. Nobody. Then we're gonna call it quits tonight. I'm done. I'm not
One monster every now and then is okay.
Yeah, unleash the beast, brother. Yeah. No, it's not.
The other give it wings.
Yeah, the other one gives you wings. Red Bull. Good. If there's nothing else, then we can close. If there's anything that you want to share, a final remark, something we can pray for, please do. Then we can end it. I'm surprised this parrot is very quiet tonight. He normally talks a lot. Nobody. Okay. Good. Then we'll continue next week from chapter 14. I'm just deciding if I should go into the topic of ecumenism. And I actually prepared a long thing for tonight, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'll decide if I want to do it next week. Ecumenism is just the idea that it's the movement basically that promotes cooperation between and understanding between different religious denominations, especially in the Christian church. And the question I'm asking when we come to ecumenism is, where do we draw the line? Where do we say, sorry, we cannot take hands with you? That's basically the question I was asking. And because obviously when it comes to the apostate church and one world religion, those walls that divide Christians from other religions need to be broken down. And also where in the church itself, in the general universal church, should we have the walls to protect us from wrong theology and things like that kind of question. So I was just asking that kind of question, and maybe it will be interesting to hear from you guys what you say. John?
Yeah, what I was going to say was, I think that is a very, very, besides being a very interesting topic, I think it's a very relevant topic. And I would really love it if you would cover it. Okay. Because it's so topical, it's so current, and it's so gray that one needs to know, where do you draw these lines? Yeah. So I would personally love it if you did.
Okay. Good. There's so many things to talk on that, but I'll see if I can prepare some. I did prepare something, but it's just too much info. Greg?
Can you just type in the chat box how you spell it? Because I have never heard of that, and Greg also wants to know what that's about.
Ecumenism.
More than likely, do the
ecumenism. And also look at this interfaith. Ecumenism, if in South Africa we have the Council of Churches, okay, that's kind of an ecumenical movement, and then you have the interfaith, the Council of Religion, all religions, and the question is, should the church be involved in those things? Should the church have a voice there? What is our voice, and what the relationship should be in those kind of things? So that's the kind of idea, and I think it will be interesting to look at that, because it's sad if I read on this, it's sad how far the church has gone down the hill on many of these things. You will be shocked if you hear some of the church Christian leaders how they promote ecumenism, or not ecumenism, in fact interfaith. One I can quickly mention is Rick Warren. Rick Warren is really promoting to take hands with Islam, with Muslims, and I think that's completely unacceptable to me. I don't think Islam believes in the same God as the Christian God. It's not the same God, and we cannot talk the same thing. We cannot have the same truth. So that's just one example. So anyways, let's leave it there. Let's close. Dirk, can I ask you to maybe pray for us, and then we can close, and then next week we will continue.